Alrighty, so we now know the matchup for the Eastern Conference this season, and it looked like we're going to have a rematch of last year's Eastern Conference final, as for the second year in a row, it will be the Philadelphia Union versus NYCFC for the rights for an Eastern Conference team to represent in MLS Cup after NYCFC were able to win 3-1 against Montreal, though I really felt bad for Montreal in this one because I think they were the better team in this game, and that this was really just a classic example of what happened when you're the better team. You don't take your opportunity, and when the other team have limited chance and able to take their opportunity, you end up on the losing end. Because when you look at how this game, of course, played, and especially look at the stats of this game, it is a pretty daunting story that Montreal, despite having more of the chances in this game, weren't able to take advantage of it. And NYCFC, with the limited chance that they had, they were more clinical in front of goal, and that's why they're moving on into the Eastern Conference Final. Though early on, it didn't look like it was that the case, because I thought NYCFC they kind of controlled the possession, which I wasn't a big surprise, because that's exactly what NYCFC love to do. They like to dictate play, and they were rewarded by that by getting an early goal in this one, as Maxi Morales would score to give NYCFC a 1-0 lead. I would like to apologize to Maxi Morales the fact that I haven't give him enough credit this play off run, and that I've also haven't really mentioned his name in terms of one of the difference maker, because when I talk about NYCFC and when I talk about their chances of going deep, I mentioned a couple of names, but one name I should have mentioned that could definitely be a difference maker for this NYCFC team is Maxi Morales, because we know he can score big goals in the big moment, and he did it again here, scoring a huge goal to give NYCFC a 1-0 lead. Though that lead looked like it was quickly evaporate if it wasn't for Sean Johnson making an incredible save, robbing Kai Kamara, who had a free header from point blank range, and knowing the form that Kai Kamara and knowing how dangerous he is in the air when he hits it in, 9 out of 10 times that's going to go into the back of net. But what a save that is for Johnson to rob him from point blank, and it won't be the only time we're going to see him make an incredible save to keep Montreal off the score sheet in the first half. But in the 14th minute, there was definitely huge concern for NYCFC fans when Maxime Chénault is subbed off of what looked like it was a hamstring injury in this one, and that Keaton Parks, of course, replaced him, which, that's not a bad replacement to have a guy like Keaton Parks that can definitely be a workhorse for this team on the defensive front. But losing Chénault, that is definitely going to be a bit of a blow for NYCFC, and let's just hope that for NYCFC's sake, he's not going to be out for long term and not going to be out for that Eastern Conference final game against the Philadelphia Union. There was a huge shout for a penalty as the 20,000 faithful inside star Saputo feel like Mihailovic was brought down in the box, but the referee says no. And then Kamara came oh so close again from the header. He struck the post there on a free header, and again that is maybe just a foreshadow of the afternoon that Montreal would have in this game. They came so close many times, but just no dice, and that it just feels like the soccer gods was just not smiling on them in this one. But there's no doubt that I will say that Montreal, despite they got off to a slow start, they have woke up. Like, they are hungry to try to get the equalizer. They were mounting a lot of pressure, and it looked like they did in the 70th minute when Waterman puts it into the back of the net. The only problem was the goal was disallowed for offside, and it was pretty clear that Waterman was in an offside position, so the goal was chopped off. But I thought after a good start that NYCFC has had, they were hanging on for dear life. Like, they were getting pinned back. And again, this is one of the criticism for Nick Cushing, the fact that, I get it. Yes, you of course got off to a great start, and I get that you of course lost one of your best defender, but that doesn't mean you can just immediately decide to bunker in and decided to switch to an ultra defensive kind of formation and tactics, because I really feel like that kind of upset the balance of NYCFC, and it was just letting Montreal a couple of grade A chances to get the equalizer. And again, if it wasn't for Sean Johnson and also the post helping them out, they could have been down in this game, let alone this could potentially be tied up at one apiece. Speaking of Sean Johnson, you make another big save, this time robbing Ishmael Kone from point blank again, very similar to the save that he had with Kai Kamara. This was just a point blank header that Kone hits it in, that somehow in some way Sean Johnson was able to rob him there. Piet then puts it high from long range before Kamara tried to stab one into the back post, but that one goes wide. But then right on the stroke of halftime, just as you thought that, Montreal, yes, they're very frustrated. The fact that they should not be 1-0 down because they were by far the better team in the first half. They took another massive blow in terms of their chances to come back, because in the third minute stoppage time, it's Abear scoring from Rodriguez to make it 2-0 in favor of NYCFC. It was completely against the run of play and a huge gut punch for a Wilfred Nancy Montreal side. And I think they also mentioned it a couple of times. I think it was Brian Dunstan mentioned a couple of times that Montreal was putting a lot of man forward. Like, they were playing a very high line, and it's understandable because you want to try to chase for a goal, and that NYCFC haven't really been very threatening on the counterattack. Well, when you of course decide to play a high line like Montreal has had, if you of course aren't able to kind of win the ball high up back the pitch and let NYCFC go the other end, then you're in deep trouble, because you're going to have problem with not enough man covering back on the counterattack. And this was kind of the example of it. Abear just completely unmarked there. That was the easiest finish for that Abear would, or at least one of the easiest finish that he of course would do. And yeah, that of course gives NYCFC a 2-0 lead, and again, just an absolute gut punch for Montreal now that they're heading into the second half down two goals, when it looked like maybe one goal was still going to be enough to overcome, because the pressure that they put on, you think that eventually it's going to come to them. So we go to the second half, and in the second half, again, Montreal dominate the possession, and NYCFC again happy to sit back and trying to look for those counterattack to go behind a relatively high line that Montreal was putting. But unlike the first half, I thought NYCFC did a better job in terms of limiting those chances. And again, maybe the tactics that Nick Cushing set up, it seems like maybe it just took them a while to settle it in and gets the tactics, and that they were doing much better in their defensive shape and not allowing Montreal a lot of opportunity. But at the same time, you can see that this Montreal side, they were frustrated. Like, again, it just feels like no matter how many chances they create, they weren't able to do so. And now that how when teams are very frustrated that they aren't able to put one in, now sometimes we see teams maybe press a little bit too hard and try to overplay. And there was times where I thought Montreal maybe overplayed a little bit on the attack and started to really look for that perfect pass so that they can get one back into this game. Though in the 54th minute, Kamara did hit one right to Johnson before Pantemis did deny Abear in the near post. But then in the 60th minute, a penalty was given to NYCFC as Pantemis brought down Pereira in the box. I mean, this was just a double whammy for Montreal in a way where first it was a terrible giveaway in the midfield, and then Pantemis inexplicably decided to come off his lines when he didn't really need to do so, bring down Pereira in the box, and judging by the lack of protest that he has, he knew that was a huge mistake. And yeah, that gives the penalty for NYCFC, which Tallis Magno was able to bury it. By the way, I was surprised to see Magno in this game. Like, I know the injuries that he suffered wasn't that serious enough where maybe it will put him completely out of the playoffs if NYCFC make a deep run. But still, it was kind of a little bit surprising him getting right back into this team. And you can see at the end of the game, it was also a little bit surprised that they decided to not sub him off. Well, actually, they were out of sub at that point, but how they should just let him sit down and not risk him, because you can see he was definitely holding his hamstring, and I think that's the part where he's been dealing with problem all this time, and that that's the last thing NYCFC needed to do. You don't want to get one of your most influenced attacker who looked like he was rushed back into action, and now he's going to re-injure himself, and he could be out for the rest of the playoffs. Though in the 64th minute, Johnston would hit a free header that was blocked by his own teammate, and I think Kamara was the one that got in the way, which again, that moment pretty much, or actually I don't know why I wrote momentum, but that moment really just sums up Montreal afternoon. Like, that is just, if there is not a moment that's just sums up Montreal afternoon of what has been a very frustrating afternoon of them unable to put the ball into the back net, I don't know what is. And that kind of is sums up in the crowd inside Start Saputo. I mean, it was pretty raucous for the start of the game, but really they had not really had anything to cheer for, and really kind of almost are in stunned silence throughout this game with seeing their team being 3-0 down. Though the good news is the crowd did eventually have something to cheer about, as in the 85th minute, Georgi Mihailovic of what turns out to be the final game for him in a Montreal jersey, he scored here from Brogy odds to make it 3-1 in favor of NYCFC. And while that's definitely a great parting gift that Mihailovic of course gives to the Montreal fans, that's one that Johnson want to have back. I mean, of all the good save that Johnson has made, that is one that he does not want to look back, because Mihailovic didn't really hit this one very well. He looked like he hits it right to Johnson, and we have seen Johnson make some incredible save, but this one, I mean, yeah, this is kind of maybe the reason why as much as he did perform very well in this game, this is a goal that maybe is a reason why he might not be the starting goalkeeper for the U.S. men's national team in Qatar. I mean, he probably is going to end up being on the plane with the U.S. to go to Qatar, but in terms of starting, that seems like a bit of a long shot, because you cannot allow these kind of goals and expect have Greg Berhalter confident that you can basically be the goalkeeper stepping in for this U.S. team in those high pressure situations. Though that being said, despite the fact it was kind of one back and maybe it was just a consolation goal, there was life inside Stade Saputo. Again, the home fans, they were started making some noise, looking to try to make this 3-2 and make it very interesting. And it could have been very interesting if it wasn't for Callens clearing a shot off the line after just some miscommunication there between Haak and Johnson. Again, they just kind of ran into each other, and I think it was Haak the one that kind of hits that one in. So if that one went in, I think it would have been an own goal on Justin Haak. But yeah, that was not a great moment for NYCFC, and they were very fortunate that Callens was able to clear that one off the line. And then Torres had a chance in the 3rd minute stoppage time, but he hits it right to Johnson. And yeah, in the end, NYCFC, despite the fact that they were kind of up against it at most part of this game, they were able to walk away with a 3-1 win to move on into the Eastern Conference Final and set up the rematch against the Union in the Eastern Conference Final. And the shots, again, just tells you the story of a classic example of the team that has the most chances aren't able to win because of bad finishing, and the team that has the least amount of chances but are able to be clinical is the one that won the game. And in this case, Montreal had 18 shots compared to just 5 that NYCFC had. 8 shots on goal for the 4 that NYCFC had. 1 shot off target for the 6 that Montreal has. No shots on block for the 4 that Montreal has. And in terms of possession, Montreal had 64% possession compared to 36% possession that NYCFC has in this game. And again, for Montreal, this one is going to sting. Like, this one really is going to sting for Wilfried Nancy side. And this is also the reason why I love the playoffs so much, and especially in the single elimination, where you're going to see times where maybe a team might be the better team, but when they are not being clinical in front of goal, the underdog can definitely capitalize. And while I won't say NYCFC was kind of the underdog, because you can't really say that they're the underdog when they're the defending champion, but this was really a game where Montreal, I think throughout this whole offseason, they're definitely going to be thinking about this one, and the fact that there's going to be a lot of what ifs. Like, what if they did take their chances? What if they got the equalizer straight after when NYCFC score up? Because I believe there is no doubt that if Montreal did get the equalizer after NYCFC scored early in this game, this would have been a complete different game. This would not be the game that NYCFC eventually raced to a 3-0 lead, because they were more clinical in terms of finishing, and Montreal just kind of had to chase the game throughout the entire one and unable to come away with anything but a consolation goal in the 85th minute. But there you have it. That is pretty much it for the review of this game. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this video? And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.